You are watching United News. This is the Ukraine channel, and I'm Lyudmila Dobrovolska. A massive attack on Novhorod-Siverskyi, which is in the border area of Chernihiv region. The Russians struck with Shaheds. About 20 impacts were recorded in the city, and we already know about 4 people killed. All of them are civilians, 2 women and 2 men. 7 more people are wounded, including a 10-year-old girl. Right now, she is being taken to the regional children's hospital. One of the wounded is in serious condition. The rest are in moderate condition, according to the regional military administration. There is a lot of destruction in the city. And just a few hours ago, the Russians once again attacked Sumy with a drone. This time, it hit right in the middle of the roadway. It is already known that 7 people have been wounded. Our correspondent Olesya Borovik is working at the site of the strike, and she is now live with us. Olesya, what's happening around you? Tell us everything you see. And what is the condition of the wounded?
Lyudmila, the number of wounded has already increased. There are now 9. It is known that many of the wounded are pensioners, married couples of pensioners, as well as people who were on their way home. Here behind us is one of the cars. It is completely destroyed after the explosions, but the driver is right here on the spot, walking around alive and well. It was an Italmas drone, a drone equipped with a camera. So the operator who is flying it can clearly and precisely see exactly where it's going and what its intended target is. And it was aimed directly at the road. This is one of the busiest sections of traffic. And it was exactly at the time when many people were returning home. More than 10 cars are still here at the scene in Antativka. There are also some passenger cars. The wounded were taken to the hospital. They have shrapnel wounds, mostly from glass from the cars they were traveling in. Fortunately, there are no children among the wounded. At least for now, there is no information about that. And it's good that everyone survived. And this is not the first time such attacks have been carried out using Italo-missiles. This weekend, Sumy was also ruined. There were more than 10 explosions in different parts of the city. Luda.
Olesya, thank you. Olesya Borovik, about the consequences of the drone strike on Sumy. At this moment, 9 people are known to have been injured. Well, in Kharkiv, there were 11 victims. Last night, the Russians hit the city with guided aerial bombs, damaging more than 10 houses. The aftermath of the attack is still being dealt with. What is happening in the city right now? Irina Antoniuk will tell us.
One of the guided bombs hit this private sector, exploding just 50 meters from the houses. This is a neighborhood with single-story barracks like these. Each of them is designed for 4 families. All the residents woke up from the powerful explosion in the middle of the night.
What happened that night was just a nightmare. It was really scary. It was very frightening. We made it through, but the consequences were very hard for our neighbors. They live behind us.
11 residents sought medical help for acute stress reactions, but there were no injuries. But the destruction is serious. One of the barracks was completely destroyed, more than 10 other houses were damaged, windows were blown out, roofs were hit, and inside the homes, the blast wave tore apart the rooms.
We're just glad we woke up. It was unexpected to wake up to something flying over you and falling from above.
All the utilities around were also damaged by the strike. Repairs have been ongoing since the night.
The city's power networks were smashed. In addition, the gas pipeline network was damaged. Right now, everyone is working to fix it as quickly as possible.
So far, none of the residents of the damaged buildings have agreed to move to dormitories. Some will go stay with friends, and those whose homes aren't critically damaged will remain at home.
Well, there's nowhere else to go, so we'll keep living here. We boarded up the windows, covered the roof a little. There's no other option. Tomorrow we'll start repairing because today we just don't have the strength. We've been up since midnight.
From Kharkiv, Irina Antoniuk, Oleksiy Zhuchkov. We are Ukraine, United News Marathon.
Overall, last night, the enemy attacked Ukraine with 2 ballistic missiles from the Bryansk region and 4 S-300 anti-aircraft missiles from the Kursk region. There were also 98 drones, mostly Shaheds. Our air defense shot down or suppressed 58 of them. It was not possible to destroy the missiles. Another, and probably the main target last night, was the Chernihiv region. It suffered a massive combined attack by strike drones and missiles. The Russians hit energy facilities, resulting in a total blackout in Chernihiv. In some areas, there isn't even any water. And the worst part is that the Russians are not allowing repairs to be made. Their drones are flying over the city and the region, essentially hunting for energy workers. Currently, there are resilience centers operating in Chernihiv and the region, about 50 of them. Water delivery has also been organized.
I immediately realized it was a blackout because I looked out the window. There were no lights anywhere in the city. Well, I understood that this was the end for us. The situation is terrifying. I just want to cry because of everything.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is calling on our partners for urgent additional assistance, from energy equipment to energy sources and air defense systems. This was announced by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha, on the social network X. He emphasizes that Putin only pretends to be ready for diplomacy and peace negotiations, but in reality, he continuously attacks Ukraine's energy infrastructure. In the Chernihiv and Sumy regions, Russia is trying to create a so-called sanitary zone. That is why they are actively striking the energy infrastructure of these regions. Vadim Skibitsky, Deputy Chief of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, emphasizes that these strikes began as soon as Putin started talking about creating the so-called buffer zone. In the dictator's view, this is supposed to force people to leave the area.
They have moved away from massive strikes across the entire territory of Ukraine at once. Now they have changed this tactic, and it consists in the fact that they, well, not so much learned, but they have drawn conclusions from previous years. Today, they are actively trying not just to significantly disrupt the entire system, but also to completely destroy essential infrastructure facilities in certain vulnerable regions.
And because of the massive attacks across Ukraine, there are now scheduled power outages for industry. They operate from 4 in the afternoon until 8 in the evening. Energy workers are urging all consumers to save electricity. Do not use powerful appliances during peak hours in the morning and evening. Emergency power outages may last for about a week. At the same time, Ukrenergo promises that within 10 days, heating will be restored to the homes of all Ukrainians. Martial law and mobilization in Ukraine have been extended until February 3rd, 2026. This proposal from the president was supported by the Verkhovna Rada. In fact, this is a traditional formal procedure. Parliament is doing this for the 18th time already. Hostilities must be stopped immediately, and the current line of contact on the front should become the starting point for negotiations. This is stated in a joint declaration by the President of Ukraine and European leaders. It was published on the website of the British government. The leaders emphasized that pressure on the aggressor's economy and its defense industry must be increased until Putin is ready for peace.
We remain committed to the principle that international borders must not be changed by force. Russia's delaying tactics have repeatedly proven that Ukraine is the only side that takes peace seriously.
And once again, the Kremlin is proving its inability to negotiate. Russia's chief diplomat Lavrov stated that Moscow will not agree to a ceasefire until the so-called root causes of the conflict are resolved. As for the meeting between Trump and Putin in Hungary, the Kremlin says that there are currently no specific dates. They claim that serious preparation will take time. Therefore, the summit in Budapest is highly uncertain. Also, the meeting between US Secretary of State Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, which was supposed to take place this week, was postponed for unknown reasons and without any comments or explanations. The media reports that this is due to Moscow's intransigence, although this very meeting was supposed to serve as a preparatory stage for the negotiations in Budapest. Meanwhile, Poland has officially not ruled out the possibility of forcibly landing a plane carrying Putin if he does decide to fly to Budapest. This was stated by Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski. He said that an independent court could oblige the Polish government to detain a plane with Vladimir Putin on board in order to deliver him to the International Criminal Court. And we will tell you more about the prospects of the summit in Budapest and the positions of all sides in detail in the main news summary Detained tonight at 8 o'clock. Don't miss it. Poland has detained 8 people who, in various regions of the country, were preparing acts of sabotage, conducting reconnaissance at military sites and critical infrastructure facilities. In total, over the past few months, the Polish Internal Security Agency has detained more than 50 operatives of Russian intelligence services. Among them are 3 Ukrainian citizens who worked for Moscow and tried to establish a channel for smuggling explosives into Ukraine through Poland and Romania. Ukraine should not give up its territories for the sake of peace, said the head of European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, in response to proposals from the American side regarding territorial concessions to end the war. Earlier, Western media reported that Trump's chief negotiator, Steve Witkoff, during a meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, urged Ukraine to agree to hand over Donbas to Russia in exchange for a ceasefire. Kallas clearly stated her position. Trading Ukrainian land is unacceptable.
If we just give in,
If we simply give Russia these territories, it will send a signal to everyone that you can use force against your neighbors and get whatever you want. I believe this is very dangerous. That is exactly why we have international law, so that no one does such things. Our approach is clear, to help Ukraine defend itself and also to put pressure on Russia to stop this war.
Yulia Yarmolenko. And for the first time in its history, France has imprisoned its former president. Starting today, Nicolas Sarkozy begins serving his 5-year prison sentence. He was accompanied to prison by his wife Carla Bruni and their children. Before that, Sarkozy met with his supporters who had gathered near his house for a rally in his support. The former president of France was found guilty in the so-called Libyan case, in which his election campaign was financed by the regime of dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Sarkozy will serve his sentence in a prison located in the center of Paris. He will be in a cell alone and will be allowed out for a walk twice a day. Alexander Kilik, who brutally beat a cyclist in Podil after the latter commented on his improper parking of a Mercedes, was granted bail by the Kyiv Court of Appeal. Currently, Kilik is in a pre-trial detention center until the 1st of December. In September, after beating the cyclist unconscious, Kilik dragged him to the roadside and drove away. He is charged under 2 articles of the Criminal Code, causing grievous bodily harm and leaving a person in danger. And in total, in these 2 proceedings, the court set Kilik a bail of 10 million hryvnias.
Irina Motik. As you can see, the court partially granted both the appeal of the prosecution, the prosecutor, and our appeal. If there are 2 criminal proceedings in total, a bail of 10 million hryvnias must be paid.
Alexander Kilik, at the time the suspect left the scene, the victim was still in a dangerous condition. He should have been given immediate assistance or at least called an ambulance. The suspect did not take any of these actions.
Yulia Yarmolenko, and let me remind you, Alexander Kilik is also a figure in another criminal case regarding the expenditure of 25 million budget hryvnias on substandard winter clothing for Kyiv's territorial defense in 2023. That's all for now. The next news broadcast is exactly at 7 p.m. There will be more information then. And now I'll hand it over to my colleagues Victoria Malosvitnia and Bohdan Mashai. See ya.